Eamonn Holmes co-star admits things she hated about working with him as she reveals true feelings. Eamonn Holmes, former co-star of almost 10 years, has opened up what it was really like to work alongside him. GMTV presenter Fiona Phillips has opened up about her past working relationship with Eamonn Holmes on the breakfast program. The duo presented the ITV show together for almost a decade, from 1996 until the Irish host left the role in 2005. At the time of his exit, the 65-year-old expressed his appreciation for his time on GMTV in a statement. He said, "What a privilege it has been to wake up the nation over the years with stories that affected all our lives. I've covered every type of story imaginable at GMTV, and it's the right time to move on." He continued, "I'll particularly miss my partnership with Fiona Phillips, and I wish her and all the rest of the team the very best for the future." Issuing her own personal statement, Fiona hilariously remarked that she had spent more hours with Eamonn than her own husband Martin Frizzell, the former boss of This Morning, Devon Live reports. She added, "This is our 9th year together. I will miss him more than words can say." 2 decades on from Eamonn's exit, Fiona, 66, has made her real feelings for her former co-star clear, while writing for The Mail on Sunday, alongside Martin. The broadcaster alleged that the GB News presenter chose to leave, as he believed the show had become celebrity-obsessed. She recalled, "He was a good journalist but not always the easiest person to work with." Fiona went on to admit she discovered a new sense of purpose following Eamonn's exit, having felt sidelined as his company presenter. She added, "For years, if there was a big interview to be done with a politician, Eamonn would lead the conversation and I was supposed to chip in with a few questions near the end, and I hated that." The mum of 2 also alleged that she later found out that Eamonn had been receiving significantly more pay than her for the same work. She added, "It seems incredible that well into this century, no one had batted an eyelid at a man being paid more than a woman for doing exactly the same job." After exiting GMTV, Eamonn moved on to Sky News to front the Sunrise show. He has also fronted ITV's This Morning and is currently one of the hosts of GB News' breakfast show. Meanwhile, Fiona, with support from her husband, continues to pursue her writing career, which has included recently publishing her latest book, Remember When? My Life with Alzheimer's. Fiona was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2022, after initially mistaking the condition for menopause symptoms. After going public with the news, Eamonn honored his "dear friend" on air. He told viewers that Fiona had always worried the disease may affect her as it did her mother. Eamonn Holmes worried about financial strain of affording care as health deteriorates. Eamonn Holmes has launched an attack on Labour's foreign aid spending, insisting British taxpayers cannot afford it, as the GB News star reflected on his own health issues. During this morning's installment of GB News, host Eamonn Holmes was left fuming over Foreign Secretary David Lammy pledging a £94.5 million support package to the Syrian government. Eamonn shared, "This makes me quite angry. Why give £100 million to Syria? We could sit and have an argument about it and whatever. The point is, the country can't afford it. We can't afford it, the taxpayer can't afford it. So what the heck are we doing it for?" The former This Morning star, whose health has been declining in recent years, then highlighted his financial concerns about aging. He told viewers, "It's funny how people always make out that the older you are, the richer you are and that you have no financial worries. And yet, as you get older, you worry more about money. You worry about whether you will be able to afford care, whether you will be able to afford a care home, or whether you will be able to afford just being looked after in general. And there are demands on whatever money you have." He continued, making a point by concluding that funding for cancer care, hospitals and hospices is also broken. Eamonn remarked, "Another thing that annoys me is that you look at cancer care centers, hospices and whatever, and a massive proportion of what they do they have to fund themselves. Why the heck would a hospice have to fund itself? I think it's absolutely scandalous, ridiculous. The whole care situation is broken." Eamonn needs to use a wheelchair at times and has difficulty with his mobility, which is primarily related to chronic back pain. The issues started in 2021 when he slipped 3 discs and underwent spinal surgery. Meghan Markle skewered by Eamonn Holmes after overly curated move. TV host Eamonn Holmes was not impressed with one of Meghan Markle's business ventures. Eamonn Holmes has savaged Meghan Markle with a brutal comment regarding her Netflix show. With Love, Meghan was released in March, and while it gained interest, the program was largely criticized. The Duchess of Sussex's show has already been renewed for a 2nd season, which will be released sometime this autumn. Today, GB News host Eamonn Holmes said that he simply cannot identify with anything in her show. Speaking to royal commentator Ellen Coughlin, the pair talked about the Sussexes' Netflix deal. WHCH is coming to an end this year before they commented on With Love, Meghan. Ms. Coughlin said, "I'm not sure what their next Netflix move is going to be. The Polo documentary did quite well for Harry, but I know Meghan's lifestyle show hasn't done particularly well. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next. It's not as if they're short of cash, they're reportedly worth about £44 million between them." She added, "I don't see them running to food banks anytime soon. I don't think we need to worry too much about them in that respect." Then the GB News host said, "I'm just curious, I've never met anybody who's watched or listened to anything they've done. Have you seen Meghan's lifestyle program? And if so, tell me about it." Ms. Coughlin replied that she did, but only as part of her watch, dubbing it not her cup of tea. She said, "But I did watch it, and I can see why some people liked it, and also why others didn't. It was heavily curated, very Instagram friendly, very Martha Stewart. I think a lot of people were hoping for a more raw, gritty Meghan, with some insight into her real life. More like what we get with the Kardashians, let's say. But we're not going to get that from Meghan and Harry. They have to curate their image carefully because, as you can tell, everything they put out gets picked apart with a fine-tooth comb." Mr. Holmes said, "So what I'm sort of getting at is, does Meghan's content resonate with you at all? You mentioned it's a bit Martha Stewart-like, but does anything in the show make you want to bake cakes or remind you of home? Because I'll be honest, there's nothing in Meghan Markle's house that I feel I can identify with." The royal commentator replied that Meghan's show is very Californian, and most likely targeted at stay-at-home mums or people who have time to put flowers in ice cubes. But she added, "But actually, watching it, I did have a moment of, oh, I want to go back to baking. So there was a little nostalgic spark in there even if it's not quite my world." Eamonn Holmes claims he can't identify with Meghan Markle's Netflix series in brutal takedown. Eamonn Holmes has revealed he is not a fan of Meghan Markle's Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, and that there is nothing in the program that he can identify with. Eamonn Holmes has delivered a scathing critique of Meghan Markle's Netflix endeavor, With Love, Meghan. The venture by the Duchess of Sussex into lifestyle programming premiered on the platform in March, showcasing an array of her own curated items like jam and featuring celebrities including Mindy Kaling. With Love, Meghan has received a spectrum of reactions, enduring criticism from commentators such as Piers Morgan, with GB News anchor Eamonn joining in to express his skepticism. In a conversation with royal expert Ellen Coughlin on GB News, the 65-year-old presenter admitted he found it difficult to identify with Meghan's show. "I'm not sure what their next Netflix move is going to be," she began. "The Polo documentary did quite well for Harry, but I know Meghan's lifestyle show hasn't done particularly well. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next," reports Belfast Live. "It's not as if they're short of cash, they're reportedly worth about £44 million between them. I don't see them running to food banks anytime soon. I don't think we need to worry too much about them in that respect." Eamonn responded inquisitively, "I'm just curious, I've never met anybody who's watched or listened to anything they've done. Have you seen Meghan's lifestyle program? And if so, tell me about it." Ellie answered that she had viewed the show only as part of my job, and not because she held any personal interest. "It's just not my cup of tea. But I did watch it, and I can see why some people liked it, and also why others didn't. It was heavily curated, very Instagram friendly, very Martha Stewart," she commented. "I think a lot of people were hoping for a more raw, gritty Meghan, with some insight into her real life. More like what we get with the Kardashians, let's say. But we're not going to get that from Meghan and Harry. They have to curate their image carefully because, as you can tell, everything they put out gets picked apart with a fine-tooth comb." Eamonn then queried, "So what I'm sort of getting at is, does Meghan's content resonate with you at all? You mentioned it's a bit Martha Stewart-like, but does anything in the show make you want to bake cakes or remind you of home? Because I'll be honest, there's nothing in Meghan Markle's house that I feel I can identify with." Eamonn has previously voiced strong opinions about Meghan and Harry, having disparaged their public displays of affection as nonsense during the Invictus Games earlier this year. "All this nonsense is in the papers today. If you just look at these pictures, all this is so acted out," he opined, suggesting their affectionate gesturing was totally fake. His latest remarks follow the announcement of Meghans Netflix series gearing up for a second season. The upcoming release is anticipated this autumn, following a postponement due to the LA wildfires affecting the initial launch schedule. Earlier in the year, Meghan took to Instagram to express her excitement. "Let us remain calm, or not. Because I'm thrilled to share that season 2 of With Love, Meghan is coming." Accompanying clips of her culinary skills, she posted, "Oh, how I love ASMR. If you're loving season 1, just wait until you see the fun we cooked up on season 2. Thanks for joining the party, and an endless thanks to the amazing team and crew who helped bring it all to life." At Netflix.